Alright, the first thing I'm going to do, find the end of my yarn. I'm going to make a loop. So I have a loop in front, and then I'm going to pull this behind and through, but just the loop part. I'm going to pull and tighten it, and now I have a slip knot because this can slip up and back when I hold it. I'm going to take my crochet hook, and right now I'm using a 6.5 millimeter. I'm going to put it through, and I'm going to pull to tighten that knot onto the hook. I'm going to take a couple what are called chain stitches. This is my tail, the end that's not connected to the ball of yarn anymore. And then I have this piece that is connected. I'm going to take it and I'm going to go behind the hook, have it hook up in, and I'm going to pull it through the piece that was already on my crochet hook. So this piece right here. So I'm going to do that again, around and into the front. Make sure it catches up there, and then I'm going to keep tension on that so that I can pull it through. And I'm going to do it one more time. So that's 3 chain stitches. Now, because I want to make a circle, I'm going to take the head of my crochet hook and I'm going to push it through the middle of one of these first stitches. And honestly, if you don't quite hit the middle, it's still going to work. Here's my piece that's connected to the yarn. Here's my tail. I'm going to try and pull the tail around the back a little bit. I'm going to take the piece connected to the ball of yarn and I'm going to loop it around again. Here it is. And I'm going to pull, so it's kind of messed up right now. And you know what? Beautiful thing. You can undo it and do it again. Okay? So I'm going to redo it. Pull. Here I am. Back at the start. Chain stitch 1, 2, 3. And I'm sure I don't do it the way that you're supposed to do it, but you know what? It still works and you still get a product. And when you work with your hands, it's actually really calming. So now I'm going to loop it around and I'm going to pull it through once. Now I have 2 pieces on here. I'm going to loop again and I'm going to loop it back through both. Okay? I'm going to take a chain stitch, just one. I'm going to do the same thing. Go back, dive back into the middle, pull this guy around and through just, see how there's 2? Pull it just through the first one. Now I'm going to pull it through both. So go around and pull it through both. Chain 1, dive back in. Again, it's not too big of a deal if you don't find the right spot, as long as you kind of go back in one of your first stitches. And I'm having trouble. That happens. Now I've got a big old mess on here, but that's okay. You have 2 things. You're going to go with your long piece that's connected to the ball of yarn, come around and get it to hook. Pull it through the first and pull it through 2. And I'm going to keep doing that, single chain, dive in, bring 1 through, bring through 2, until I start to get what looks like a circle. And can you see how the circle starts right here? I'm almost around. Looks like I have maybe 1 or 2 more stitches left. 1 chain, dive in, take this, pull it through. Now I've got the 2. Back through both. I'm going to take 1 more chain. That's the beauty of a project like this. It's okay if it's not perfect. Okay, now I have a circle. Now with that circle, I'm ready to start making my circle bigger, because this is the base of my cozy. So I'm going to take the head of my hook, and just like I did where I dove through the middle, instead of diving through the middle this time, I'm going to dive through this piece right here. Okay, so I'm going to put my hook through so you can see it. It's the outer part of the circle. You can see it. It's like the outer part of the braid. Kind of looks like a braid. You see that? So I'm going to dive through. Now I have two things on here. Same thing we did before. From the back around and have it hook. Come through one. Now I have two on there. Loop. Come through two. So I'm going to keep doing that same thing that I did before. Okay? Chain one. Dive in to that outer part of the braid. Pull it through. Loop. Pull through two. And I'm going to keep doing that until I build my circle. So I'm going to keep going one chain stitch. So behind and over, pull through. Dive into that outer part of the braid. Pull this part through. Now I have two on. Loop back and around. Pull through both. Chain stitch. One. Dive in. Pull through. Back and around. Pull through two. Chain. One. Dive in. Pull through. Pull a little more string out. Around. Through both. And I'm going to keep doing that as so I can build my circle. This is my base for the bottom of my mason jar. So how do I know when I'm done? You can pull this through a little bit so you have a longer loop so that you don't lose the work that you've done. And you're going to look and see how close is it to covering the bottom. Okay? And so at this point, I'm probably going to go maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 more stitches. Because basically you want it to cover the bottom, but not all the way to where it curves right here. Because you want it to be nice and tight on the mason jar. Okay? So, like I said, I'm probably going to go 5 or 6 more around this way. I think I said 4 or 5, but I think I'm going to go 5 or 6. And then I'm going to stop with the chain and the crochet stitch. And then we're going to simplify it even more. So once I've got my circle for the bottom, I just pulled this out so I didn't accidentally, because look, if I pull this, I lose my stitch, which I can redo it, but it's a lot easier if I just pull out a long piece, if I just pull and make this longer so that I don't accidentally lose it. So that's just why I have that long tail. So I'm going to take my circle, I'm going to take my jar, and I'm going to see, all right, does it just barely fit the bottom? Okay, and notice how it still goes out like this. I don't want it to totally cover the bottom because then it'll be too wide when I end up doing just the single crochet. And you can always go back after you do a couple rounds of what will eventually go up the jar. You can always just pull that out, go back and take out a bit of your circle so that it fits as tightly as you'd like it. So in order to do this next part, which now you're going to do this for the remainder of the cozy, I'm going to put my hook through, and I'm going to pull on my long piece so that it tightens on. And now I'm going to do single crochets the rest of the time. So I'm going to find this outer part of the braid. I'm going to push my crochet hook through. Oops, sorry. Hey, it gets caught. It happens. I have 2 pieces. I'm going to take my long, go around the back, hook it, go through the first, do it again, go through both. I'm going to push it through, hook it around, pull, around, pull. You can hear my 7-week-old in the background. He's debating if he's going to take a nap or not. Push through, around, again through both. Okay, and I'm going to keep doing that over and over and over. And you're going to see it's kind of starting to fold on itself because it's starting to make what's going to look like a little cup for the bottom. And apparently he really wants to be in the video, so he's even talking with us. Silly guy. And pull through. Okay? I am by no means a fast crocheter. This is about as quick as I can go. Whoop. And I'm not even that good of a crocheter. But for me, the video helps so much because I can actually see what I'm doing. I learned how to crochet from my cousin's wife. We were at Christmas gathering, and she was working on a really cool blanket and making all these what are called granny squares. I was like, oh, those are awesome. Can you show me how? Because I learn a lot better if I can see someone do it. I can, look in a book and look at pictures and diagrams, but unless someone actually sits down and kind of walks me through it and shows me what they do, and perhaps even has the opportunity to literally guide my hands through it, that is how I'm really going to learn. And so you don't have to know any fancy stitches. You don't have to be able to decipher like, well, what does 1HC mean? Or, when you're looking at a pattern. You can still do things if you aren't sure even what the lingo is and end up with a really cool product. So you can see how it's kind of starting to curl, and I'm literally just going to keep doing that over and over and over again until I start to get the cozy that will eventually come up and cover my mason jar. All right, now you're probably getting there, working, go about halfway through on mine, and I'm just doing the same single crochet stitch every time. So what that looks like, I'm going to pull this out. You should have a little bowl like this. Here's your tail. Again, I pulled this out super long so that I didn't lose any of it. I'm going to pull so that I tighten the slip knot down. Again, I just go through the top part of the braid, pull the long part that's hooked up to my ball of yarn, pull that through. Now I have two. Again, same piece around and through both. Okay, through one, around both. Okay, and I'm just going to keep doing that until I make it tall enough to fit my jar. Through, pull one, through two. Okay, and every so often I'm going to pull this through so I don't lose it, and I'm going to take my jar and give it a try. See how I'm doing for height, and I'm going to do it to just below the rim here, and then I'll show you how to tie it off. Alright, so at this point you're going to see if it fits your jar. Here we are. We've got the tail nice and long, the yarn that we're using to continue our stitches up here. Here's my tail. I actually prefer the look of the other side to this, so I'm actually going to turn it the other way just to see if it's sized right, because personally I like this kind of braided look, and if it's right then we'll turn it back and check it out. So yep, wiggle it down and on. Looks pretty good all the way around. So I'm going to pull it back out, turn it back, because now I want to finish this. What do I do with this that's connected to my yarn? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off right here, and I'm going to pull it all the way through, so now it's finished. Okay, now you have a couple different options for what you can do with this tail. You can take your same gauge of crochet hook and kind of weave it in and out of these top stitches here so that it kind of goes along with the rest of your stitch, and you can just work it in and out and in and out like this. I'm sure there's a more professional way to do this, but this has worked for me, and of course now I'm having trouble. This has worked for me for every one of the ones that we use on a daily basis, whether it's for soaked oatmeal that I send with my husband when he goes to work, or for a hot drink. You can do that, and that helps it kind of stay. Or you can take a smaller gauge crochet hook. This is 4¼ millimeters, and you can find one of these loops and kind of shove it through and pull this through with it. Kind of have to use your other hand. It doesn't do anything to the design on the other side. And then I can come back and tie it. Again, I'm sure there's a more professional way to do this, but this is the way that I do it. And we have to take a break because there's my 7-week-old. We'll finish it in a second. All right, let's finish this up. So we looped through one of these on the other side using a smaller gauge crochet hook as compared to the one that we used to actually do our mason jar cozy. And honestly, tying it once is plenty. You can cut off the tail, you can leave it long, whatever. I'm going to cut the bottom one a little bit too, and then I'm going to turn it the other way because that's the side that I like better. And you have yourself a mason jar cozy. Throw your jar in, and I like it tight, so that's, you kind of just have to wiggle it down, and you're set. You see, here's your circle work on the bottom, and then these are your single crochets all the way around, and you're ready for a hot drink or a cup of soup. But instead of just holding the jar, you have this really great cozy to go with it. I hope you like it and feel like you are able to tackle something new, even if it's something you haven't tried before, and not lingo that you use, but it's still definitely doable. Happy crocheting!